The scenic is slightly moist Swiss mountains for the Rallye International du Valais, the 38th running of this event, and all eyes on the local hero Olivier facing stiff opposition from this man, the #1 plate on the Toyota Celica of Italy's Andrea Aghini. Well, he leads them all away from the scrutineering area as they head off into the mountains of the Vallée du Valais, and a big crowd turning out on the first stage to see the Italian, as expected, set the fastest time. Early problems for local man Georges Darbelet in his Opel Astra, loses a lot of time, dropping to 9th after the opening 3 stages. But Olivier Bourri is flying in his Subaru. The #3 machine takes the fastest time on stage 2 and would have done so on stage 3 if he hadn't flown off the road and hit a tree bending the axle. He was only 7 seconds slower than Aghini despite this big impact. But the problem is, as he says, that we can't fix the axle, so we're out of the event.
Là, c'est impossible de pouvoir réparer, il faut changer le pont complet. Donc, voilà, on va malheureusement abandonner.
A small driving error for Jean-Marie Caron on this corner is the least of his problems. Mechanical trouble intervenes and the Escort doesn't make it to the end of the first stage. Jean-Laurent Girolamo flying in his old Lancia, 7th after the first 3 stages. And from the old to the new, Frédéric debuting a WRC 555 Subaru for the first time, a customer car being run outside of the World Rally Championship. Cyril Henny, the Swiss champion in his 306 Maxi, moves up to 2nd place with the quickest time on stage 2. And the front-wheel drive car's going extremely well. Olivier Gillet, 3rd overall. 4th overall for Italy's Piero Longhi in his Maxi Megane Renault. And also mounted in a Megane and in 5th place overall is Polish driver Janusz Kulik. Disappointment though for Felice, 2nd overall last year, but now only 15th. And the little Skoda of Jindrich Stolfer not doing too well here. It does much better on the gravel than on the tarmac. Alessandro Gabrielli keeping the crowds entertained. Still, the Italians love this Lancia Delta Integrale. It may be outdated in World Rally Championship terms, but it's still a fearsome weapon on tarmac. Philippe Roux also in a Lancia. He's running 9th overall. This is the only rally he ever does, retired several years ago. Andrea Aghini, now without any real competition. Olivier Bourri, I think, was just going too fast too early, he says, trying to keep up with us, and I don't think the car could really take the pace. Aghini now a Toyota driver, but of course he knows a great deal about the Lancia Deltas, having made his name in those cars. High up in the mountains and up into the fog, Aghini still leading. At the end of the first day, his advantage 1 minute and 12 seconds. Cyril Henny, 2nd overall, but very happy because on stage 6 he beats Aghini's fastest time with his 2-wheel drive Peugeot. 3rd after day 1 is Gillet, but he's 1 minute and 52 behind the leader. Longhi 4th overall, just can't really match the Swiss Formula 2 driver's pace here. Here's Kulik coming through the mist. And as you can see, fairly foggy on some of the stages, but equally nice and dry and sunny in other places, so the driver's having a real mixed bag of conditions. This is the big show stage. Draws in a great number of spectators every year, and mercifully the fog has lifted a little so they can see what's going on. Andrea Aghini quickest by 10 seconds from the Swiss champion Henny. Darbelet just inside the top 10 after day 1. But Henny is really pushing, and the signs of his attempts to stay with Aghini starting to show on the car. The Maxi Megane really proving its tarmac worth once more on this show stage. Third overall is Celica, the number 10 machine. This is Sion in the heart of the canton of the Vallée de Valais. And although it may not be in line for a World Rally Championship event, they are aiming for the Winter Olympics in 2006. You can see that it's probably very well suited to it as well. So on to day 2, excellent conditions. Andrea Aghini losing 3 seconds on the first stage, further 3 on the second, and he was only 2 seconds quicker than the opposition on stage 3. So Aghini clearly taking it easy. And as Aghini starts to relax the pace a little bit, confident in the knowledge that he's got a secure advantage and that all he can do now is lose the rally, so the Swiss champion really starts to pile on the pressure. And he's clearly enjoying fighting against the odds. 2-wheel drive national champion against 4-wheel drive and World Rally Championship star. That's the way he likes it. Olivier Gillet in his 16-valve 306 also going well, but losing a couple of seconds to the faster F2 machine on each of the stages. Piero Longhi is further 3 minutes back on the leader despite his spectacular progress in the Maxi Megane. Gregoire Hotz with the Clio, a very spectacular local and a big favourite with the crowds. And Georges Darbelet working his way back up the top 10 to 7th overall after the first 4 stages on day 2. WRC Subaru having a lot of teething problems. And this is Ray in the Clio kit car, slipping and sliding down to 8th position. So by the end of the spectacular second day's action, what was really almost a foregone conclusion with the departure earlier on of Olivier Bourri, Andrea Aghini and his Toyota Celica cruise to victory. His advantage at the end of the event, 1 minute and 18 seconds. Not a big advantage against the kit cars, but on these tight stages, the big and somewhat unwieldy Toyota, not at that much of an advantage over these fiery little 2-wheel drive machines with their short wheelbase and superb handling. These were built for tarmac. This is where they excel. Second overall then, the Swiss champion Cyril Henny, and he would be delighted with that result. Third overall, even more delighted, the 16-valve version of the 306, not even the full works kit car. Gillet, 2 minutes 34 seconds behind at the end. And neither of the 2-wheel drive Peugeots had the slightest problem throughout the event. Longhi started off 4th, finished 4th. The Maxi Megane, quick and reliable, but seemingly not quite on the pace of the locals. Maybe that was local knowledge, and that undoubtedly helped Girolamo into 5th overall in his antique Lancia Delta Integrale. Still a spectacular machine. Spectacular as well on the stages and in victory. Andrea Aghini, he's had plenty of practice at donutting the Toyota. Puts on a good finishing show for the crowd. Equally delighted is Cyril Henny, who delights the crowd with a share of the champagne for the victor of the International Rallye du Valais, Andrea Aghini, by 1 minute and 18 seconds.